In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the 4-3 even 6-1 defense in Madden 26. This is probably one of my favorite defenses every single year, and I think that this defense is really, really good in Madden 26. I'm going to be giving you kind of a little bit of a tutorial in terms of how I like to run this defense. Now, when you're running 4-3 even 6-1, one of the things you kind of have to be aware of is the fact that they took baseline out of the game. This is certainly going to impact this defense. It does make this defense a little bit less effective, just in the sense that you can't like just be in a nice baseline symmetrical shell. But that being said, we are going to be basing this out of the Sam Will blitz. Now, when you're running this defense, you want to run this defense with auto flip defense play call off. You do want to go ahead and go down to the option read key, turn this on to conservative. Pitch key is going to be on aggressive. Read key and pass key are going to be on conservative. And then on the bottom here, what I like to do with the 6-1 defense is I like to put my safeties on close and the width on pinch for this defense. And that's going to kind of set everything up the way that I want it to be. And we're going to run this flipped. Now, the biggest thing with 6-1 that you need to do is move the safeties as you need to. So as you see here, just quickly move the safeties into a little bit better of a position. We're then going to pinch our defensive line. If they move back like that, you can pinch D-line first. But in general, as you see, this is what the defense looks like. Now, if we want to get pressure, it's actually really, really simple. When you pinch this defensive line, you're going to hover kind of right in this little area with your user. And if you want to only send 5, you can just man the running back up with a linebacker on that side. And as you see, we're able to kind of set up our coverage. You can do whatever you want with your coverage as well. One of the best features of this game is that you can turn a man coverage into a zone look just with your quick adjustments. But basically what you're going to see here is this pressure is going to come in off of the outside linebacker position over there on the right. One thing I forgot to mention in terms of this is actually the personnel for this defense and how you want to set this up. What I like to do is I like to put my fastest pass rushers on the outside. For the Eagles, it's going to be Nakobe Dean and it's going to be Jihad Campbell. And then we're going to put Nolan Smith at the defensive tackle, or not defensive tackle, the edge positions. So Nolan Smith and Josh Uche, we're going to put those guys at the edge. And then Jordan Davis, you could leave him there. He's fine. He's not, amazing, but he's fine. And you can run it like that. Now, what's really nice about this defense is it's really, really good against like compressed sets. Like bunch or like bunch, it lines up perfectly. As you see, like this is about as perfect of an alignment as you could want in terms of that. And again, I like to just touch the safeties just because they're less likely to move when things happen. Like if they flip, you see here, like we're still in a good spot, right? So, anyways, the other thing that I was going to say about this defense is, to a degree, it's a little bit symmetrical. And again, the pinch D line, and then all you're doing here is you are going to man this running back up, and then what you should see is I like to spread my linebackers. So I like to pinch my D-line, spread my linebackers, and normally you're going to get pressure off this other side pretty quickly. As you see off that right side, 5-on-5, we're able to get pressure. Now with 6-1, the other thing is you can try to get a 4-man version. So the way that I would run this, if I was trying to get a 4-man version, is I would still blitz this defensive end because you're going to need him for contained purposes. But then I would drop this guy out on the left side in like a hook. So it looks like this. And we're only sitting technically 4 with this. And you see we're able to get this pressure. This is why I like 6-1, because you can do stuff like that within the defense. It also has full stunting capabilities. So if we wanted to, we could actually drop out of this and play more of a cover 2 type of defense. When you do that, what I would want you to do is go ahead and go to the Texas 4-man stunt. And what you'll see here, even though the play art isn't going to show it, you're going to get this kind of stunt that can get you pretty good sheds and disengages within this defense. Again, I'm a huge, huge fan and a big believer in making sure that you're pinching your D-line and slanting your D-line down. And then if you want to stunt after that, you see here, it's still going to register within this defense, and we're still going to be just fine. So you have your Texas 4-man stunt. You have your 5-man pressure off of really either side. I'll show you that pressure off of the left side. If I wanted to get a little bit more coverage to the bunch side, then I could send 5 like this. So the way that I would send 5 off of the left side is I would drop out the coverage like so. We're kind of playing a little bit more of a cover 3 cloud like this rotation. And what you'll see is if you send 5-on-5, you're probably either going to get that A gap on that left side, or you're going to get the edge pressure It honestly just depends a little bit in terms of their protections. Are they using base protection? Empty protection, you're going to get more likely that A gap. But if they run like a base pass pro, which a lot of people like to audible to base, then you're going to have a little bit better of a chance for the edge pressure. What's nice about 6-1, what I think is so important is in this year's game, what's really nice about 6-1 is empty and base protection and half sliding and all those things. They're very much less effective against 6-1 just because of the way that you have all of these blitzing threats on the line of scrimmage. That's why I love this defense right now. Now, the other thing is if they do block a running back, so this is what I think makes 6-1 really good, is that if they do block a running back, just by this basic defense, we can just quickly pop this into a cover 2 shell, like something like this, and we're going to be able to get pressure if they do block the running back, whether it come from the linebacker on the right, the D tackle. You're going to get some level of pressure typically when you send this blitz, if you send the 6-man. So they're going to have to block a running back to pick up the 5-man, and then typically what'll happen is if we send 6, you see here we're able to get nice pass pressure off of that other side. You don't want to send 6 every play. Please don't do that, especially in this game. You need the additional coverage. Really what you want to be doing is honestly sending 4 a lot. I think sending 4 is probably the best way to be playing defense if you can swing it the majority of the time, and then every now and then you're going to mix in some pressure in key situations. But this Texas 4-man is a great little send 4 kind of disengaging type of defense to go alongside of the pressure. The other thing I was going to say, I did want to just quickly remind you that if you send 4, you can actually... So like if I want to send 4 off of this left side, for example, what I can do on this right side is I can just drop this defensive tackle into coverage. And I know it looks a little weird, but it's really the best thing we have in terms of being able to send 4 in this game, because you can send 4 off of this left side. And a lot of times you're still going to get really good pressure in a send 4 scenario off of that edge right there. The D tackle didn't really do what we wanted it to do, but you can get some pressure. Is what I'm trying to say. Especially if they send 5 out, it just gives you the threat of pressure, which you have to. I mean, every defense has to have some level of a blitz threat, and this one has probably the best one. I mean, if you really think about it, this blitz threat is pretty decent in general, because if you do send 5, you're going to guarantee it. Like 5-on-5, you're going to get pressure, but 4-on-5. It can be a little bit less. It can be a little bit less consistent. The only other thing I was going to say is if you are playing hard flats, you can kind of utilize the hard flat as your contain, and so you can send 4 like this. This will probably be a little bit better. And as you see, we get the A gap off that left side with that DT. That A gap's going to be kind of a scary A gap. It's not necessarily an amazing one. It's more of like just a scare, but it actually can get pretty decent pressure. And I'll show it one more time here. So again, if we want to drop this defensive end and avert, something like that, you see there's that A-gap rush, and you're able to have a pretty decent little defense. Now, again, that's against empty protection. If they go to base protection, okay, if they do go to base protection, you're still going to be in a pretty good spot because of the nature of how this is going to work. So if they do go to empty protection, again, I like to just sit in a basic shell like this. But what you'll see here is we should get the edge pressure very clean in that scenario. So this is why 6-1 is probably the number 1 defense in the game right now. And it is well equipped to be able to handle the run. It's very, very good against the run. Really, the only thing you have to worry about with 6-1 is kind of the alignment that it can give you at times. And I will show that real quick. I just want to cover that briefly. So let's say that somebody comes out in a bunch, right? And this is something that a lot of people like to do. They'll audible to a trips. And so you see how this can, to a degree, slightly misalign. It doesn't technically misalign. This is why we want to be in Samuel Blitz, because you still have the blitz threats. So what you're going to do is you're just going to adjust out of this. The biggest thing is you have to keep these safeties in. Like these safeties in tight is really, really key for like a trip set. You don't want this safety, for example, to be all the way over across the field. You want both safeties because that's going to give you the best adjustments to handle this. So if you do get a trips look, what I like to do is play cover 2 on the trips side. So the way we're going to do that is we're actually going to take this linebacker. We're going to put him in a hard flat or a curl flat based on what you want to do. Okay. Now, another way we could do that, let's say we want to send more pressure. We could put our user in a hard flat. It's kind of a little bit of advanced adjustment. You could put your user in a hard flat and you could switch stick off of him. So it could look something like this. on that left side. Totally, totally reasonable. Another thing that you could do against trips, because the tight end is compressed like this, is you could put you could actually get away with putting like an inside quarter or a middle third here on the right side, and then on the left side you can now get into a cover two if you wanted to play more cover two. Right? I know this looks a little wonky, but this is actually a really pretty decent defense and pretty decent way to play. Another thing that you could honestly do is just man the tight end up. You can do it like that as well, where you're able to kind of get a lot of the field covered. But what's really nice in terms of when we want to attack a trip set, it's very clean pressure. Like your pressure is going to be very, very clean. That could have potentially, really the only reason for that right there is probably just because we sat there for so long. And you see here, like these safeties, they did move. It's honestly not terrible. Like we're not in a terrible position, if you will. Like we could easily play, just our basic defense. I mean, I think this right here is pretty decent against trips. You've got to have that vert hook defender. If you wanted to, you could move this guy just a little bit like this. But really, we're okay, and then we're able to get really, really nice pressure. I think I must be forgetting to spread my linebackers. Let me do that. Let me make sure I get those linebackers spread out, and let me get a little better hover, and you'll see that this is a pretty good little defense. So we pinch, spread, and then we'll kind of set up a coverage. Another coverage that I really like is I can also blitz off the running back side, which is a little easier for me to user when I blitz off the running back side. So that's another thing. If I wanted to blitz off this running back side, then I could just get a lot of coverage here to the left side, do something like that. And then if they, run, you see we're getting that pressure off the right. So anyways, got to be ready for the audible to like a trips or like a 5 wide. You're honestly in a pretty good spot against like a spread. So like if they come out, let's say they come out and like everyone, I get this question a lot, like how do you stop 5 wide? This will be pretty good against 5 wide because all you need to do is just essentially, so you see here, this is kind of how we line up. The only thing is my user is over here, which is not ideal. But if it happens like this in a game where the running back's out here, he will go out here. So all you need to do is just user this defender and you're right here and you're good. You're pretty much good. Just pinch the D line and you're going to get your pressure. You're going to get the pressure. I think I forgot to flip my play. So I'll just flip it at the play call screen here real quick. And that linebacker moved randomly. He would do that as bad if we were flipped when we came out. But anyways, so you see here, this is what we want. And then they get a 5 wide look, and you're going to get some level of pressure. I don't know why we're getting held up there. I think maybe we did flip. Maybe we did flip it right. But, and really what you could do easily to get this a little bit cleaner is just come over to the side a little bit more. But you see there's that A gap, and you're getting, you're manned up. Everybody's manned up. The biggest thing here is, unfortunately with the linebacker, he does move over here. The only way that I know to fix that is really just you're gonna have to kind of fix it on the fly. And this is again for the empty trio where the running back is out there. If the running back is, let's say it's like just like a basic empty, something more so like this, then what you're gonna get is you're gonna get a pretty you're gonna still be in a pretty decent spot. So you see how the linebacker, like you just gotta find this guy. And then really, if you move the safety over like this, you're still, somewhat lined up how you would want to. So anyways, you have to be ready for that within these 5 wides. This is the one thing that's going to give 6-1 a little bit of issues is like a super 5 wide type of spread set. But the biggest thing is just kind of adjusting and adapting from the basics that we talked about. And if somebody's in 5 wide or some of these, super spread sets, they don't have the routes that a bunch set has to be able to break down coverage is easy. So you're going to still be in a pretty good spot defensively for this. It's also really, really good against any kind of compressed set. You're going to see compression this year. Compression is really good just because of the routes that you get from being in a compressed set. But as you see, I mean, we're able to defend, these compressed based offenses pretty good within this defense. I got to use the running back a little better there, but anywho, that is a little bit about 6-1. There's obviously a lot more we could talk about. I am going to be releasing a 6-1 defensive ebook in our school community. So if you're not a member of my school community yet, make sure you sign up for that. It's only $10. It gets you access to all of my offensive and defensive ebooks for both Madden and for college football. So if you want to sign up, that link is going to be down in the description below. This video, I'm going to be breaking down the easiest defense you can be using in Madden 26, and it is the nickel 2-4 double mug. Now, this defense can be found in the Philadelphia Eagles defensive playbook. I'm going to be giving you a couple of setups here for some pressure, easy pressure, keep the game fairly simple for you in the first couple of days here of Madden 26. And I want to first go over kind of where I like to put players within this defense. So what I want you to do is I want you to put your fastest pass rushers on the outside of this defense. For the Philadelphia Eagles, that's going to be Nolan Smith, and it's going to be this guy, Jihad Campbell. And then at these two defensive tackle positions, or these guys right here, you want these guys to be your shedders, your pass rushers. So for example, Josh Uche and Jalen Carter are really good fits for those positions. At the linebacker positions, you can either put the linebackers, if you want to put linebackers in those spots, go for it, no problem whatsoever. What I'm going to actually be doing, though, is I am going to be putting safeties in those spots. And the reason why I like to put safeties in those spots, just because they're faster. At the end of the day, most of the time, safeties are just faster. So I like to put them in there. And they're smaller, more agile defenders. So now that we have our kind of roster set up, what I want you to do now is go into your coaching adjustments here. For this defense, you're going to want auto flip on. Really important because it's going to be a man-to-man based defense. You then want your defensive motion response on default, option read key, conservative, pitch key, aggressive, RPO read key, and RPO pass key, both on conservative. And then for zone drops, the only zone drop that I really recommend is putting these hooks on 5. Now, because of the way we're going to run this defense, you actually don't need to change your safety depth. So I'm going to put those back onto default. And we're going to be pretty much doing every single thing we need to do out of the mid blitz 0. Now, as you see here, when we get on the field, mid-blitz aligns really, really well against any kind of bunch or trip site set. You have a slot corner here on the left side. I'm going to show you the basic version of the defense. If you don't make any adjustments whatsoever and they send 5 people out on a route, you're going to get somebody in free. Now, I know that's not crazy. We're sending 6 on 5, but if you literally want to put your controller out and not do anything else, you're going to get pressure within this defense. Now, the best way to run this defense, however, is actually to bring the safety down into the gap like so. And essentially, you're going to kind of user the running back. If the running back goes out on a route, you're going to go with him. So you see here, I'm just going to go with the running back, and you know we're going to get pressure because we're sending 6 people at the quarterback. However, if your opponent starts to block a running back, then what you're going to be able to do here is you're going to be able to get down here with your user. You're going to hold the left trigger, and you're going to essentially strafe over this running back. You see that the running back blocks. You're going to hover down just a little bit. As you see, we're able to get this A-gap pressure off of that right side linebacker. This is going to require your opponent to do some level of pass protection, right? If they block a running back, a lot of times you're going to get this A-gap pressure from one way or the other. Sometimes it'll randomly pick it up, but a lot of times you will. That was kind of a bad hover right there. But if they do block the blitz occasionally, what I like to do is every now and then send just a basic 4-man rush. I'll show you how to do that. So what you want to do when you're sending a 4-man rush from double mug, there's really a couple of ways that you can do this. The first one is to simply slant your line inside, and then you're going to take these linebackers and you're just going to man them up on the running back and the tight end. And then I like to take the safety and put him in a deep half zone, and we'll put our guy here in a hook. So you see this is kind of what it looks like. Now they block the running back, or they go through all this additional protection, and you're only sitting 4. And these sheds, by the way, are going to be really good from double mug specifically. Okay, so that's one method that you have. The next method that you have is to actually utilize a stunt. So the way that I like to utilize the stunts in this game is really kind of twofold. You can either do it like this, where you have the linebackers mugged in the gap, and you can do your adjustments kind of like how I was showing, but you're going to pull up your defensive line menu, and you're going to hit R1 to bring up the stunts, and you're going to go all the way over to the Texas 4-man stunt. You see, this is what it looks like here, and what this can do is this can actually get some crazy disengage pressure, as you saw it did right there within this defense, and it looks just like you're sending everybody. Even if they block the running back, the Texas 4-man rush is one of the best in this game, and it's really good when they start to try to do things to block your main blitz. This is a great send for. Okay, so you have that within this double mug. Another way to run that same exact deal is to just make one little adjustment. Spread your D-line, spread your linebackers out, and run it like this. When you run it like this, you can feel free to use your linebacker. And what you're going to see is this can create these crazy loops. As you see right there on the left side, we're able to get incredible pressure at the quarterback. Obviously, you can do whatever you want with the coverage behind this. You're basing out of a cover zero. So just know that one of the best ways to shade this year is to shade over top and then actually route commit to the outside everybody. You're going to do that by hitting the R1 button and flicking the left stick to the left. That shades everybody outside, and then it forces everything back in the middle of the field to where your user defender is. So these are some of the best ways to just get easy pressure day one in Madden 26 out of the double mug defense. I want to thank you for watching this video, and if you're looking for a full defensive ebook or offensive ebook to really help you take your game to the next level, consider joining our school community. It's $10. It gets you access to all of our Madden and college football offensive and defensive ebooks, and that is going to be linked in the description down below. The dollar defense is one of the best defenses every single year in Madden, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to run it in Madden 26. Now, we are in the Jacksonville Jaguars defensive playbook. They have a lot of great secondary formations, such as 4-3 even 6-1, the 46 bear under. They have this 3-3-5 over flex over G. They have some decent nickel sets with the 3-3 single mug, the 3-3 load mug, and the over and the nickel wide and the double mug. But what makes this defense super effective is it has this dime 3-2, also known as dollar from previous years. Now, the way that I like to run this defense is I like to put my best pass rusher on the left side of the screen. As for example, with the Eagles here, we're going to put Nolan Smith here on that left side. At the defensive tackle, you want a dog here. This is like probably the most important position in the entire defense. For the Eagles, they have Jalen Carter, super good fit for that position. At this linebacker spot, honestly, you can really put almost anybody in the spot. I'm just going to put somebody that can, I like to put one of my faster players in that position. At this left of screen linebacker position, this is super important. You want to put your kind of most agile, good change of direction type of player. For me, it's this guy McCollum in the Eagles on the Eagles lineup. And then this other guy is going to be your user. Whether you want it to be a linebacker or a safety, this is going to be your primary user defender in this defense. Now, the way that we're going to run this defense is in our coaching adjustments. We are going to turn auto flip defensive play call off. Defensive motion response, we're going to want to disable this. And then we're going to go conservative, aggressive, conservative for our read keys and pitch keys. Down here, you want to put those hooks on 5. And then you want to put it to close and pinch. Now, if you want to get my entire dollar defensive ebook, it's going to be available in our school community. We're going to be breaking that down in that platform. If you're not a member of school yet, it's only $10. It gets you access to everything, all of my full offensive and defensive schemes for both Madden and for college football. So if you want to sign up for that, that link is going to be in the description down below. Now, the way that you can do this is really can run it from a lot of different plays within the dollar defense itself. One of my favorites is to run it out of the cover 4 quarters. And all we're going to do is we're going to come out in this play, cover 4 quarters. We're going to shade our coverage underneath. And then we're just going to move this blitzing guy over the top between that guard and that center. What I like to do with this is kind of hover back in here so that I can shoot the run. And what will happen is that this blitz can come in consistently against different types of pass protection in this game. Now, I might actually grab some clips here of this in an actual game, as I totally told you wrong on where to put the linebackers. Totally had a little bit of a brain fart here. We're going to put McCollum over here on the right side of the screen, if I can find him. And then our user is going to be this left side of the screen. So anyways, we'll go through. You can also run this out of Tampa 2. We're going to actually flip the Tampa 2. And one of the main things that you need to do for this blitz setup is you want to contain your pass rush, and you want to re-blitz this outside guy on this left side. And what you'll see here is when you use that contain, is you notice that guard on the right side, he basically just freezes. And this happens a lot when people are running empty protection. That guard is going to really struggle to pick up that blitzer. Now, the other thing about this blitz is this blitz does have a chance to come in against a base protection. So if they are setting their protection to base, sometimes this can still loop a base protection. The guard definitely reacts a little bit better in that base protection. And one of the things that you can do to kind of counter a base pass protection is to slant your line to the right and then QB contain. What that'll do is that'll cause that defensive tackle to kind of slant a little bit more. Also, if you want to get sheds, just re-blitz that guy on the left side. That will trigger your defenders to shed a little bit better. And here you see there's that loop, and you see how he gets that super sharp angle, and he's able to actually fully loop around the defender. Now, some of my favorite coverage shells out of this defense is very, very simple. Number one, I love cover two. One of the easiest ways to run this is to just put your user in a deep middle third, and you have those hooks on 5, so they're going to play super underneath, and then you can switch stick onto the vert hooks as kind of playing through your middle third and your hook curls, as opposed to playing through your quarters, whether you're in cover 4 quarters. Now, another way that you can run the same basic idea is you can get into a cover 3 cloud. And the way that you do this is whether it's a cover 6, cover 3 cloud, I like cover 3 cloud the most, you're just going to literally bring that linebacker over to the left side. You're going to blitz him just like this, and then you QB contain. As you can see, it gives him that kind of same looping B-gap style of blitz angle that we had from Tampa 2. Didn't quite get the pressure in there. No big deal. Again, this is not going to come in every single time, but it is one of those defenses that you have, and you have the ability to get, occasionally get pressure from it, but then you also have, as you see there, just the ability to give them on a pretty good timer. This is really optimized for switch sticking, which is one of the main purposes of the defense. So you can do this out of cover 3 cloud, where you bring this guy over. You can do it out of cover 4 drop as well. One of my favorite start out defenses is really just using this cover 4 drop like this, and you can run the defense like that. As you can see, you're going to get that pressure. Now, that's why you want to contain on that right side. If you don't contain, sometimes that outside guy will actually shed. So again, we're just going to contain here and then move this guy over, and you're pretty much set up and ready to go. And you see we're able to loop and get kind of that passive pressure at the quarterback. So those are some of the different ways in which you can run the dollar defense to be able to kind of get at some pressure within the linebacker position. I think one of the easiest ways as well that we didn't cover, that I did want to make sure to cover, is a cover 3 hard flat. So the cover 3 hard flat variation of this has that linebacker blitzing. You're just going to, kind of shift him over like into that little spot, and you're going to be able to, get that loop to be able to create that pressure at the quarterback as well within that. This is one of the most consistent loops in the game, just in terms of it's a little bit better, like I said, in game than it is in practice mode. But a lot of times you'll see, I don't know what's going on with my protection here. You're going to be able to get this. I don't know what we're doing with our protection here, but you're going to be able to get this guy to loop around, and it just causes some wonky things. Sometimes the defensive tackle will disengage at the middle. There's just a lot that can happen within this. But the biggest thing that you do want to be doing is you do want to be containing. In my opinion, too, if you have this guy like more in the middle, like that right there, you're going to see that a lot more times than not the guard will block him, because the guard he's kind of like recognizing him. What we want is we want to trigger a double team. So the way that you would trigger the double team is you want to get this guy, again, a little bit more backed off the ball, a little bit more like out of the way. And so the guard this time doesn't quite see him as well. And I mean, I guess he did still play pretty good. Like I said, this thing is way better in an actual game than it is in practice mode. I just wanted to be in practice mode so I could show you some adjustments. But basically, one of the best adjustments is to cover 2 one side and cover 3 the other side. When you cover 3 the other side, you want to use a curl flat. That's one of the best zones in the game this year. And you see that sometimes what will happen is when the guard actually takes the looper, sometimes that guy will actually disengage on that side as well. So anyway, this is just one of my favorite defenses. It was one of my favorite defenses last year. It's still pretty good. It actually gets pressure at a decent rate. It's not like 100%, but it's going to get that pressure probably at about a 60-70% clip. And then the other thing about it that makes it good is just that the coverage is really, really good from this. You can do a lot of things to make your coverage really, really effective. And there you see, able to end that on a positive note. So that's the dollar defense, at least a little bit of a version of it. I'll do more content out of dollar. We'll talk a little bit more about adjustments in another video, but I wanted to just kind of show you the basic concept. You want to be crashing right. You want to be re-blitzing this guy. In my opinion, you kind of want to be down here with your user, kind of run down just for a step, because what'll happen is when you run down for that step, it'll really trigger the double team on the left. I'll show that one more time. We didn't get a great look there. But when you run down with your user, it's gonna kind of trigger a little bit more of a potential, you see here. So kind of bite right in this area, kind of run down a little bit. You see how the center kind of passed him off. That's what you're really looking for. And then you have a better potential for this to come in against the different types of pass protection that you're going to face, whether it be base protection or, standard protection. or empty protection. But anyways, you could also kind of stand back in here, but you see, we get this guy to loop around. That time the guard just played out of his mind. Base protection is going to block this a little bit better, but base protection has some other issues. And the other thing about base protection in general is a lot of people don't even realize that they can change their protections. Base protection does not block this 100% of the time, though. You can loop. McCollum is probably getting tuckered out. I don't know what's going on with him. He's not fighting for me for whatever reason. But anyways, yeah, I think there's actually some kind of like logic to, I don't know if there's where, I mean, I don't know. We're going to end it right there. We got it to come in. Again, not 100%, but it is a good defense. If you want to learn more about it, get in our school community. It's $10. Link is going to be in the description down below. One of the best defenses in Madden 26 is the dime 1-4 defense, and I'm going to be breaking down how to run it right here. Now, what you want to do in terms of this, I'm in the Minnesota Vikings playbook. This is also found in the Patriots playbook as well as other playbooks, but I think those are really the two best playbooks in this. Is we're going to go over just a couple of things first and foremost, and that is personnel. So when you're running this defense, you really don't want to have linebackers on your field, in my opinion, at least at the sub linebacker position. So what I like to do is go into my sub linebacker spots, and I'm looking for the change of direction rating. This is by far and away the most important rating when we're talking about this blitzing concept. And what you're going to see here is they actually have this guy, Tristan McCollum, who has 90 change of direction. So we're going to put him at the sub linebacker position. And then at the alternate sub linebacker position, this guy, Andrew McCuba, shout out to Texas, he is going to be the other one. He has 91 speed, not quite as good change of direction, but he does have good speed. And you see, these are the two players that we want to have in there. Now, we're talking about our defensive ends. The rush right end is going to be your left of screen. So what I like to do is put my best pass rusher at that position. That is not my defensive tackle. So for this case, it's going to be Nolan Smith. And then my other D tackle is going to be Jalen Carter. At this rush left end position, really doesn't really matter who you put here, because for the most part, this guy is going to be in contain. So what I like to do is put a guy with either high speed, high block shed, or some combination of the two. So I'm going to look over here and just figure out, what the block shed ratings are looking like if we have anybody that stands out here. And you're going to see that this guy, Zach Bond, is kind of a do-everything linebacker, and he is going to take that spot. You could also put this other guy, Joshua Uche, in there as well. But in my personal opinion, I do like Zach Bond. As you see, he's just a little bit better physically than Uche is going to be. Now, if we go to the slot cornerback, the cornerback here, we are going to make some adjustments to our corners. In my opinion, in this defense, your worst two corners, they are going to be at your slot. Your best coverage players, you really want them at the safety position. So, because you're going to kind of be playing through your safeties within this defense. So what I like to do is take Ringo and Bennett, both of which have 90 plus speed, and I'm going to put them at the number 1 and number 2 corners respectively. And then I'm going to put this guy, Mitchell, here, and DeJean, my two best coverage players, I'm going to put them at the safety position. So you're going to see here, we're just going to put Mitchell in at free safety, and we're going to put DeJean in at the strong safety position. Then we're going to go down to that slot cornerback position, and we are just going to put the last two players that we want to be on the field. 87 speed, to me, there's no real reason to play him because he's very slow. There's just, to me, no point. So what I like to do is put 92 speed Jackson at that slot position. And then at the other slot position, I'm just going to put, again, looking for another fast corner. Doesn't have to be talented at all. Just needs to be fast. That is what you're looking for. And so you see here, when we get back on this field, we're now going to go through and just show you, as you can see, this guy right here is, in my opinion, where you want to put your pass rusher, your best overall defensive lineman at the defensive tackle position, and then kind of a do-everything guy on this other side. Then we have our guy McCollum in this linebacker spot. We have our guy Makuba in this sub-linebacker spot. Jackson, McWilliams at the two slot corners, and then Bennett and Ringo on the outside, with our two best players being at this safety position. Now, as far as coaching adjustments go for this defense, I personally recommend running this with auto flip off, because we're kind of going to be running it off of the same side pretty much every single time. We might flip it occasionally just as a changeup, but in general, you kind of want to keep things straightforward, right? Defensive motion response disabled, option read key conservative, option pitch key aggressive, RPO read key and RPO pass key are going to be on conservative. And then what I like to do is take my hooks and put them on 5. We're then going to take our safety depth and width. We're going to put our depth on close and our width on pinch. And we're now ready to basically come out in our defense. Now, as far as audibles go for this defense, I don't think you really need anything too crazy. At the end of the day, you're really talking about planning for either no huddle situations or audible down situations that you get yourself into. So what I like to do is put DB Sting to Buzz in here. I honestly like to put Cross 3 Fire in here just so I can always have access to it in case for some reason I don't have access to it. Always good to have, I think, a cover 2 man or something just to get into a basic man defense. And then the last one is going to be Tampa 2. Now, if you guys want to get the entire Dime 1-4 defensive scheme, or really any of my other offensive or defensive ebooks, they're going to be available in our school community, and I'll put a link to that in the description. For just $10, you're going to get access to all of our offensive and defensive ebooks. Now, as I said, I'm going to be talking about Dime 1-4 in this video, and we're going to be taking a look here at the play Cross 3 Fire. Now, the biggest trick that I can tell you, in my opinion, is you're going to have auto flip off and you are going to be flipping your play at the play call menu. And that is going to significantly help with getting this blitz to be more consistent. All you need to do for the setup, it's actually really probably the easiest setup in the entire game. For the blitz, if we're just talking about the blitz, all you're going to do is you're going to QB contain. And then honestly, you don't even need to user this guy necessarily. If you want to user a slot corner, for example, you can. If we're just talking about the blitz. And what you're going to see is that this blitz can loop from left to right across the line of scrimmage. Now, occasionally you'll see that if you don't use the linebacker, sometimes that guy on the right side can kind of go inside like that. And that's really, honestly, it's actually because of the route that R1 is on. Let me pick a different, let me just put him on a streak and just see if that continues to happen. Again, I think that's just because of the route he's on. I don't know why he's randomly doing that. But you see there's the loop. Now, if we want to optimize this loop, you're going to get good pass rush. You've got potential to get the pressure in, but you also are going to have good quarterback contain, and you're kind of setting yourself up to have a very switch stick optimized defense. So what I want you to do here, and I'm just going to pick a different play out of the same formation. I actually don't want to use Bunch X Nasty just because this specific Bunch X Nasty has it doesn't really have a route that is, all the routes are going to run into the blitzer. So anyways, which isn't really normally going to happen. So Cross 3 Fire, we're going to flip it, and then now we're going to optimize it a little bit more. So if you want to optimize this blitz a little bit more, what you want to do is you want to pinch your defensive line. You're going to see that it's going to move these guys just slightly. You're then going to take your user and you're going to move him over into this area of the field. He doesn't necessarily have to be all the way out here. He doesn't necessarily have to be right here. He can pretty much be anywhere in that area of the field. And then what I like to do in this defense here is I might put him in a hook curl over here and then move across the line of scrimmage over this way. And then I might go ahead and do a coverage shell like this to kind of create a roll coverage. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to QB contain. Make sure that you QB contain before you put your user in zone because it will reset his blitz. But then you also want to blitz this DN. So you see we're containing one side and we're looping off the other side. And now you see we're going to get a little bit more consistency from this loop. Now, at the end of the video, I'm going to show you some clips, or I'm just going to show you this loop in a game where you can actually see kind of, how it works, so to speak. Right now, I just want to go over some of my favorite coverage shells since we don't really need to show that in game. But just know that this is, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, the best loop blitz in Madden 26. Okay, so again, at the end of this, I'm going to break down and actually show you in game the blitz concept. But it's not 100%. It's really about 75-ish% of the time, depending a little bit on their pass protection, and honestly, depending a little bit on what formation they're in, to be quite honest with you. So anyway, this is a great defense. It's a great little blitz. And if it doesn't come in, you can still shed. You're setting 4, and you're able to switch stick. Now let's talk about some of my favorite defensive shells, from this defense. So let's say I'm playing a formation like this, or like any bunch, for example. A couple of my favorite ways to play bunch. So a couple of my favorite ways to play bunch are basically this right here. What I'm going to do is I am going to shade my coverage underneath, I am then going to put this guy on the left side in the safety on an inside third. I'm going to put the right side guy on an inside quarter, and I'm going to run the defense like this. Now, what this is really good for is any kind of four verticals or smash return type of play that they might run. Something like this, for example. And what you're going to see that I'm going to do here is I'm going to, when I see a crossing route, I'm going to immediately switch stick onto this third and just take this crossing route across the field and then let the hook curl guard that other route. And so you see there we're able to play pretty good defense on the bunch. Now, the next thing that a lot of people are going to do in this game is you're going to get some variation of a flood concept. And if you are getting this a lot when they're in a bunch formation, one of my favorite ways to adjust to that is, first and foremost, our base adjustment here is certainly not terrible. What we could do is we can essentially just switch stick onto the hard flat defender, and you'll see here, I can just switch stick onto him, and then I can switch stick to the quarter. And we played pretty okay-ish. The drag's open, of course, but it's the only thing they really have. But if I really wanted to cage this flood concept on the right side, as well as cage this backside drag, which a lot of people will run, what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and I am going to cover 3 clouds. The way that you're going to do that is you are going to shade underneath. You're going to put this guy on a hook. You're going to put this guy on a middle third. Put this guy on an outside third, a vert hook on the slot, and then a soft squat or a cloud on that outside corner. So you see, these are the adjustments. One of the other things that I really like to do in this game is use curl flats. I just think curl flats are really good on the short side of the field this year. So that is something you can do. But what you're going to see now is the corner route that was getting open is now going to be hard to fit in on that sideline. And then we're still able to kind of switch stick if they run 3 across from bunch to the solo side. So this is one of my favorite coverage shells against bunch. The next shell that I like running against a bunch type of look is kind of a little bit of a cross Manny type of shell. And the reason I'm going to use this is really to kind of try to guess, if you will, what they're doing. So really the main thing that we're going to be doing here is we are simply going to be taking this slot corner and we're going to be manning him up on the slot receiver in the bunch. This guy's often on corner routes, and he's also on a lot of crossing routes and things like that. And then I'm going to put a middle third here to the right-hand side. I'm then going to take this outside guy and man him up on the outside bunch receiver, and I'm actually going to cross man my user onto the tight end. So you see, this is kind of what the defense is going to look like. And then I love to soft squat on the back side of this. And then I like to put a vert hook here to the left side because I know that what I'm anticipating here is switch sticking either to my vertical hook. You could leave him in a hard flat. That's perfectly fine as well, or a curl flat. I'm either switch sticking to him or I'm going to switch stick to the middle third. Most of the time, I'm going to switch stick to the middle third. And the reason that I like this play is I love this defense if they were to run something like this. Because what you're going to see here is the cross man is going to do a really good job combined with the curl flat. And then I'm going to be able to just simply switch stick right here and just take that post underneath. So those are some of my favorite coverages against bunch. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some of my favorite coverage shells against any kind of like trips tight end style of offense. And the biggest thing with defending trips tight end is honestly being able to defend 4 verticals. 4 verticals is probably the best all-around play in trips in terms of just hard to defend consistently. And again, we're going to run our crossing fire. Now, again, really important, you want to be flipping this play. The blitz is much better when it is coming from left to right. And so we're going to flip this play. And then what you're going to do as far as a coverage goes, as far as a coverage adjustment go, is actually ridiculously simple here. It's actually crazy that it's this simple. But what I like to do is I'm just going to put my user, come over here. I'm going to obviously set up the blitz, right? And then I'm going to put my user in a hook. And then I'm going to shade underneath. And I'm going to inside quarter this guy on the right-hand side. So you see, this is kind of the look that we give. And the reason that I like this specific defense for trips is I like to play through my safeties. And there's really 3-ish routes that you're going to get primarily. The first one is 4 verticals. And this is going to do an okay job, especially with your user over here. There is a window, and I'll actually throw it here. There is a little window right there to kind of hit that verticals streak. But if you think about it, again, what we can do here is we can just kind of slide our user out a little bit more to kind of like show that that's covered without actually covering it. Now, again, if they want to force feed it and kind of play this cat and mouse game, so be it, right? So be it. But the beauty of what we're doing here is, let's say that they run, any kind of verticals play here. Everything to the right side is going to pretty much be covered. And then we're going to be able to switch stick onto the third defender. So it looks something kind of like this. And then we see here, we're going to switch stick to this crosser. You see that hook curl did a good job of playing the running back for a minute. And then at that point, you're hoping either your blitz came in or you got a shed. In game, not only does this blitz work significantly better and honestly a little different in game, it is also, you're going to get better sheds in an actual game situation than you do sometimes practice mode. It's weird, sometimes practice mode overdoes the sheds. And honestly, sometimes with some defenses, for whatever reason, they don't let you shed. So I don't know. But anyways, so let's talk about some other coverages that I like specifically against trips tight end. And this next one is going to do a really good job against this four verticals play. So what we're going to do to kind of slow down any kind of like trips tight end type of formation with this specific defense here is we are going to simply roll the coverage a little bit differently. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to inside quarter the safety on the right hand side. We are then going to vert hook and soft squat on that tight end side. So you see that's kind of what it looks like. And then on this left side, what I like to do is we are going to play essentially a hybrid type of cover two. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to man up this slot receiver here. I'm going to put my user on a flat, and then I'm going to put a deep half and a cloud on this side. So essentially, or whoops, I apologize. I messed up my defense here. I'm going to hook curl here. So essentially what we're looking for and what we're able to do is if they run like a verticals type of play, we're just going to kind of take this middle trips receiver. You could even man him up if you wanted to. But essentially, you're kind of playing like a hybrid coverage. And what it's really good against is it's good against this route combo right here. Now, all you basically have to do with this is you're just going to switch stick right here, and you're going to be able to handle one of the most popular plays from trips tight end over the last several years. The other thing that you're able to do against trips tight end with a shell like that is you're able to have, the cross man and the zone kind of confuse a lot of people. Now, the other thing that you're able to do in terms of, defending a trips tight end type of look here is you are going to now run a cover three to the left-hand side with that cover two on the trip side or the tight end side like this. You can cloud, you can soft squat, really whatever you want to do. I'm going to cloud right here. But essentially what we're going to make sure and how we're going to kind of cover this is, again, you're going to need to have a curl flat of some type or something to kind of help with this verticals. This specific setup is actually really sensitive to verticals, and that's why I kind of hesitated to talk a little bit about this. The reason it's really good is because this middle third is going to do a really good job against a lot of other stuff, but against four verticals specifically, it honestly makes a little bit more sense just to inside quarter him. If you middle third him, I'll just show you. What can happen is that the crosser will kind of pull the middle third for just a split second, but that's why our best players are there, right? So, again, a little bit of give and take. But an easy alternate coverage shell would be to inside quarter both safeties and then just play cover two to the right and have the defense look like this. This is an easy alternate shell for trips that will do a pretty good job of handling four verticals. It's not going to be perfect, but it will do a pretty good-ish job at handling it. And again, the main thing they can throw is really this right here. But when you quarter and you have that third, it's a really tight window throw. Now, I want to give you one other coverage shell that I like to use for trips. This is really good if they're running like trips tight end flex, where they're running a tight, like a slant post combo. This is one of my favorite ways to defend like slant post or something like that. So what we're going to do with this is we are going to have this left side safety go into a deep half. We're going to have a vertical hook, and we're going to have a cloud flat on this left side. Now, this is really, really important in my opinion. You need to man your user up onto this middle, this inside trips receiver. and we're going to actually leave this, this kind of cover 2 type of coverage here on the right side. The reason that this is really, really good, and what I would honestly advise is probably an inside quarter right there. The reason that this is such a good coverage is because the only way they can really beat you deep on a cover 2 is by hitting the deep middle of the field, which the middle trips receiver is going to be the best candidate to actually hit. The vert hook will do a lot of cool stuff there for you. And then also your really primary switch stick is going to be to either this middle third or quarter, just depending on how you want to play it. I normally do run a middle third there. It's just, I've noticed that the tight end streaks, it kind of depends if they're streaking the tight end a lot or not. But if you're, again, defending slant post, all you have to do here, like literally all you have to do is just switch stick the tight end. And the best way to do that, you don't even have to really switch stick tight end, but essentially here, you're just going to be here, and then you're going to switch stick to the quarter and guard the tight end. But as you see, we played pretty good against that. The only thing and the reason why I said that you need to man him up is because what'll happen is if they do run that tight end on a streak and they run that inside guy on a streak, so it looks, you'll see here. And again, on the backside, you could either run cover 2. You could deep half here to kind of give you a little bit more leeway. I really like the vert hook soft squat on the tight end side or vert hook cloud on the tight end side, either way. But basically here, what you're going to see is if I see that middle trips receiver runs vertical, I've got to get off of my guy. So right here, I'm going to get off of him, and then I'm just going to get onto the middle third and kind of run that back, and then I would get onto the vert hook. If I don't do that, that middle guy is that inside trips receiver will be basically a one-play touchdown, a walk-in touchdown. So that is one of the biggest things that I could tell you as far as defending trips tight end. So one other shell that I will just quickly touch on from Diamond Porter against trips tight end. Now this one, I'm going to show some vulnerability. There are some vulnerabilities to it, but there's also some strengths to it. It really is good for it's really good for slant posts. It's really good for a lot of different things that they're going to try to do. Basically, when they're trying to attack the trip side, this is one of my favorite ways to play it. So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to outside third this safety, and essentially we're going to play a little bit of a match style of defense. So the way that I like to do that is you're going to have to turn this back to default, and this is going to be something you're going to have to intentionally do right when you're using this defense. So what we're going to do is if I come out in my crossfire, if I can find the play, there it is, and we're going to flip it. All we're going to do, very simple too, by the way. All you're going to have to do, I'm actually going to give you 2 different ones because there's another one that I feel like I have to show you. All you're going to do, and this will cage verticals, and it kind of makes them have to go to other stuff. But basically, you're going to vert hook, soft squat, outside third, and then you have your middle third right there. And then you're going to curl flat this guy. And then what I would do is I would crossman your user onto the middle trips receiver. So again, it's kind of the same thing. It's just the major difference is we're using that outside third there. So he's going to really get wide. But what will happen is, and I'm just going to run this against 4 verts here. You're going to see, that we're going to play really, really well. Now, obviously, we could user the running back on this play, which is what we want to do. But I want to kind of break down the matching principle that we're utilizing and taking advantage of here. So if we go into instant replay, what you're going to see is that vert hook on the left is going to match that seam streak. The soft squat matches perfectly. And then that cross man matches. Now, the only thing we need to worry about is, of course, the running back. So if I don't guard that middle trips receiver, that inside third will guard him. So that's not a big deal. And then the outside third will also play him. But the main thing is you're getting that match on that number 2 receiver, which is really, really helpful. And then I also wanted to show you one other one. This has been something that I've kind of used for a long time that I really, really like against trips tight end type of sets, trips tight end flex. And that is this right here. So we're just going to utilize the seam flat. And then all we're going to do, very, very simple, very, very simple defense here. We're just going to inside quarter the left side safety. And then on the right-hand side, you can kind of do it however you want. You just don't need that cover 3, in my opinion. So what I would do is just vert hook, soft squat, And then with your user, and this is kind of important, you want to man up your user on the tight end. So if he runs like a post, you can switch stick onto the middle third. That's the whole idea. But watch what happens with this inside quarter on the left. And this is also a match concept. So you're going to see here that the match, he's going to match that guy all the way across pretty much perfectly. He'll match him on a corner route. He'll match him on a crossing route. He'll match him on everything that he runs. So if we go back through some of the plays that could give us a little bit of trouble, maybe something like this, for example, you're going to be in a really good shape because you want to keep that seam flat's going to match that number 2. You have the middle third kind of coming over the top, and then you have a vert hook soft squat, and then your user is cross man. So let's say we get that running back Texas route. What I would do is switch stick onto this vert hook, and then you have that man up on the tight end. So you have the ability to defend that play. You have the ability to defend slant post. And I'm just saying, like from motion Y post, for example, if they run a slant post combo, it would look something like this. Well, the other thing I wanted to show you is the deep post from the outside trips receiver. So you do have a matching principle that's being activated with that outside third on the left. So what you're going to see here is, again, you have the quarter, you have the vert hook soft squat, and then you have this cross man right here. And all you're going to do is you're just going to switch stick onto the middle third and basically jump the slant. So you see here, just going to jump the slant, and you see that outside third is going to match that post, and you also have a middle third there to close the post. So you have it bracketed really, really well within how we kind of set everything up, and that's pretty much a cage on one of the best trips tight end concepts every single year. Like by far one of the best trips tight end concepts every single year out of Cross Through Fire. Now, I would be crazy if I was looking at trips tight end and I didn't talk just briefly about how to stop a basic run, whether this is base, whether it's really whatever it is, you're going to be able to stop it. And so the way that you want to do that is if you know that they're potentially running the ball on you, you do want to go ahead and pull your user out in this area of the field. And essentially, the guard is going to go to the looper, and you're just going to shoot in like that really easily and be able to defend the run. I don't really think that it makes any sense at all to use for this guy over here and do it. But you can, and sometimes that looper will come in. But again, I just don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. So what I would have you do is you're going to use the running back side guy, take him to the opposite side defensive end spot, and then you're just going to run in and you're going to be able to shoot it. The cool part is your blitz is still going to be there, right? So you're still going to have the ability to blitz out of this. If you want, you don't have to. You'll see here if I hover this area, sometimes this can help the blitz a little bit, but I don't think it really, honestly don't think it actually helps it that much. And I think the ability to stop the run is even more important. So you'll see here, like if I pinch, contain, and then drop my user in a zone, and they happen to pass the ball, you're going to see here, I mean, look right there, the loop pretty much almost came in just like that. Now, as I said, we are going to show you some gameplay in just a minute about how to actually check that out. I did want to go over just real quick if I can. Let me see if I can find the. I guess I have to come out in the play, but I did want to quickly, while we're talking about trip side in, because this is a formation that a lot of people like to run in the red zone. If they are running a passing offense in the red zone, you can actually stay in 1-4-6 this year. There's some ways in which you can stop, because you can stop shotgun runs. A little harder to stop under center, but what I would do is if they are running, again, like a meta red zone combo, what I would do is real simple. We're going to play hard flats on the outside guys. We're going to play vert hooks. We're going to shade underneath, and then we're going to have our curl flats just like that, and then our user in a mid read. Again, you want to make sure you're standing over in this area, and this is going to be a pretty decent red zone defense for what they're going to want to do, especially with switch stick and being able to switch stick into kind of the problem areas of the field. So that's one way that I will stop people in the red zone. Another thing is, let's say that you're running this defense and you're like, oh man, they just out of nowhere audible down. What I would do, that's why we have it in the audibles, DB sting buzz, pinch, You're just going to pinch your linebackers, pinch your defensive line, slant your defensive line outside, and then you're just going to grab either a safety or you could grab one of the other guys. But basically, you're just going to essentially overcommit to the run because that's the whole point of them audibling down in the first place. All right, so now we're in game, and I just wanted to give you maybe four-ish plays with this blitz, and just kind of go over where I put everybody. So again, Nolan Smith, you don't want him on that side. You want Nolan Smith over here. We're gonna put Jalen Carter right here. We want that guy McCullen on that safety right there, and then we're gonna have where's he at? Makuba at the other one. That's going to be our user. Zach Bond at this position here. And then remember these slot corners. I'm not going to worry too much about it, but basically we would put our cover players in there. But anyways, just for the blitz aspect, auto flip off, motion response disabled, rekey, boom, boom, boom. And then we are going to put these on 5, pinch and close. And make sure that you are calling this flipped. That is super important. And then all you're going to do is you're going to pinch your D-line, QB contain, and you are going to put your user right in this little spot. Obviously, from there, we can kind of adapt our coverage. I think this is the best way to play coverage out of this. And essentially, you're going to loop off that side. And you see there, even if the loop doesn't come in, a lot of times the little disengage there is going to come in. I'll show it to you again. And we'll see if we can actually get this thing to come in completely free. Like I said, it's not 100%, but it is pretty good. And a lot of times you are going to loop. There it goes. And there you see, there's the pressure from left to right. So really, really good. It can also come in if they do block a running back, because if the running back is on the opposite side of the looper, then this blitz can 100% also come in. The other thing about this is you don't have to necessarily, like let's say I want to play a little bit more over here. I don't think that, I mean, it obviously helps the blitz a little bit if you hover, but I don't think it kills the blitz if you don't. I think it still can certainly come in at the pass rusher. And then let's show it to you one more time here. Hopefully we'll end on a good note. But this is, in my opinion, the most consistent loop blitz in the game, and a lot of reason to use it. I think this is super, super good. Obviously, right there, you saw the defensive tackle trying to disengage, but that is the dime 1-4 defense. Today's video, I'm going to be going over what I believe to be the best defense in Madden 26 right now. It is out of the nickel 2-4 single mug. Now, this defense is in the New England Patriots defense playbook. And if you want to learn my entire system scheme for running this defense, it's going to be available by joining our school community. For just $10, you get access to all of my full offensive and defensive ebooks for both Madden and for college football. So if you're looking to take your game to the next level, join our school community today. The link is going to be in the description below. Now, in this video, as I said, we're going to be talking about the nickel 2-4 single mug, and the coaching adjustments that we want to set for this defense is we're going to have our defensive motion response set to disabled, our option read key conservative, our option pitch key aggressive. Our RPO read key is going to be conservative. Our RPO pass key is going to be conservative. And then we are going to go down here and put our safety depth on close and our safety width on pinch. Now, once you get your coaching adjustment set up, the way that you want to set up your personnel in this defense is you want to put your fastest pass rushers on the outside of the defense. So in this case, that's going to be Nolan Smith. And then that is also going to be this guy down here on the Eagles, this guy Van Sumeren. He has like 91 speed, super good for what we're going to be doing with blitz. And then we have Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter at the defensive tackle positions. This is where you want to put your shedders, the guys that can win one-on-one pass rush situations. That's where you want to put those players. And then what I like to do is at this specific middle linebacker position, what I like to do typically is I'm going to put a safety at this kind of offset one. And then at this one, I'm going to put a linebacker of some sort. In this case, it's going to be Nakobe Dean. But again, another pass rusher, type of player. Because when you do blitz him, he is going to be, needing to shed for you. That's pretty much it for the personnel of the defense. And then as far as packages go, nothing too crazy that I would recommend right off rip. We'll just go with a basic package. And then as far as the play goes, you are going to be in a cover 4 based defense. Now, what I want to do is actually want to pause the practice mode session. I want to jump into gameplay. I'm going to show you how this works in a real game. Okay, so now we're in a game here, and what I want to do is I just want to show you how I like to run this blitz in an actual game, because the blitz is just going to kind of look a little bit better. It's going to perform a little bit better in an actual game than it's going to in practice mode. Now, don't worry, I am going to be showing this blitz against a couple of different types of pass protections that you might see. First and foremost being the empty protection. And we're going to do this out of the cover, out of a Tampa 2 right here. We're going to hold down on the button, and we're going to select the Texas 4-man stunt. From there, all we're going to do to set the splits up is we're just going to blitz this linebacker right over the middle, just like this. Feel free to kind of make whatever coverage adjustments you want. But what you're going to see is that if they send 5 receivers out on a route, you're going to get one of these guys looping through the gap consistently against empty pass protection, which is kind of the stock pass protection on a 5-out type of situation. Now, the other way that we were going to show this little blitz here, this concept, is we're going to show this from a base pass protection. So I'm going to set my pass protection to base. As you can see, we have base pass protection. Again, we're just blitzing that linebacker. There's not a whole lot of really thought behind it. If you want to spread your D-line, go for it. And you're going to see that just like that, we loop and we get that pressure through sending that little blitz. Now, if you want to, the other cool part about this defense, in my opinion, is you don't just have to do the send 5. You can feel free to take that linebacker and actually drop him into coverage. And a lot of times it will actually pay off for you. So we're just going to run literally a stock Tampa 2. And you're going to see that with the pressure we're able to get from this Texas 4-man stunt, it really takes this defense to a completely different level. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to force different types of pass protection from your opponent, different types of, double teaming or IDing. And another way that I like to kind of counter is when they're starting to double team or they're starting to ID, is kind of an alternate little 5-man pressure. So one of the best ways that they can actually block this blitz is by double teaming this defensive end. So what I'm going to do right here is we're just going to globally blitz all of the linebackers straight down. And guess who I'm going to use her? I'm actually going to use her this defensive end. And now you can do, like I said, whatever you want with the coverage adjustments. Not really concerned necessarily too much about that. But what you're going to see is if they go with that adjustment, you're typically able to get some cool pressure on the quarterback that you wouldn't have gotten had they not used that double team mechanic. So now that we're back in practice, what I wanted to go over, like as we kind of saw, how good the blitz actually is, I just wanted to go over some of my basic coverage shows for the most popular formations that you're going to face. We're going to start with any kind of 3-by-1, like a bunch type of formation, and how I'm going to set up the defense behind this. So we showed you already that the blitz is really effective and much, much more consistent in game than it's going to be for you in practice mode. But my favorite base defense in the game right now is just a cover 4 quarters with that Texas 4-man stunt. I like to spread the D-line out. And if I want to run just straight match like this, what I want to do is I'm going to actually hit left on the D-pad, R1 to bring up the stunt menu, and I'm going to hold my left stick up. And what that's going to do is it's going to get my user right out of the gap super fast. As you see, those stunts can kind of go crazy from there. Now, this is just a straight up cover 4 quarters match defense, which I love because it's going to, not a lot of people are going to be very equipped to face this type of a coverage. They're not going to be equipped to face this type of a defense. And so that's why I really, really, really like to kind of base out of that. It's just a simple feeler, can you beat match coverage? That's kind of the main thing that I'm asking. The next coverage that I really like is out of that cover 4 quarters as well. It's really the same thing, but the difference is instead of running match, we're going to shade our coverage underneath, and we are going to play a cover 4 drop style of coverage. This is primarily designed to be a coverage that you can adjust out of. If you want to cover 2 one side, you can. But what I like to do really the most is simply use this as a switch stick defense. And we're just looking for where are the routes that we need to switch to and how can we possibly do that with that right stick. So that's another one of my favorite ones, is to utilize the shade down cover 4. Another really good one in like kind of longer yardage situations is if you shade over top, it's going to put these curl flats on the field. What's nice about the curl flats is they do a really good job at defending corner routes this year. So those curl flats are going to be really good for taking away those short corners that a lot of people like to hit. So those are kind of my base cover 4 coverages. I've shown you my cover 2 coverages, and now, I've shown you my match coverages, and now I'm going to go over my basic cover 2 type of coverages. Now, the way that we're going to use these kind of cover two roll type of coverages is through just simply using cover two on one side and cover three on the other. We're still going to be basing out of that Texas 4-man. When I send 5, I love to run just a basic cover two. Another way that you can do this is if you wanted to, you could run it like this. And the nice part about this is you can kind of start on this flat defender and then kind of quickly switch to the vert hook to defend stuff over the middle of the field. So that's one of my favorite coverages, but really the other ones are based out of a send 4. And what I like to do is I like to do this right here where we're going to cover 3 the bunch side, but really important, you want to shade underneath, and then you want to re-cloud flat that outside player, and you want to put this guy on the right side in a curl flat and your user in a hook curl. This cover shell is really effective for defending bunch type sets because these curl flats are going to do a really good job of taking away any kind of short corner on that right hand side, which is then going to force them to have to throw into basically a switch stick defender. But as you see right there, obviously the animates, he's going to play that fairly well. Another coverage that I really like against bunch when we're talking about these cover two kind of coverages is I love to, again, we're going to put this defender in a hook zone. You don't have to, but I do think it's helpful. We're going to shade underneath. And then what we're going to do is we are going to run a cover 3 on the left side now. So it looks like this. And again, I love the curl flats in this game. From there, we're going to soft squat this outside corner. What this does a really good job of is it does a really good job of the fact that they're going to struggle to throw pretty much any corner route on that right side, no matter how deep it is. And that soft squat is just going to do a really good job of kind of matching onto, the corner routes that you're going to be facing with. Now, if you wanted to, another thing you could do in these long yardage situations, one of my favorite defenses, is we are literally going to call this Tampa 2, but we're going to put both safeties here in an outside third. We're going to put our user in a middle third, and then we're just going to do that D-pad trick where we're going to hold, we're going to go left on the D-pad, R1 to bring up the stunt menu, and then hold up on the left stick. We're going to run this guy super far back, and then we're going to switch stick onto these vert hook defenders and look to defend anything coming underneath. This is a great way to defend any kind of like long yardage, like third and 15, third and 20. You also don't have to put the outside thirds on both sides. One of the things that I really like to do is put the outside third on the wide side and put the deep half on the short side. This is going to help if they might have like a cover 3 bomb, for example. It's normally not going to bomb, this type of a coverage shell. This is why I love this defense in this game, is because it just has a lot of versatility, a lot of things you can do from a coverage adjustment perspective. And I wanted to take just a quick second here and show you how I like to run the defense against some of those wonky trips tight end or trip more spread out type of formations. I get a lot of questions of, how to stop, trips. And so let's go ahead and get into that. Again, if you want to learn this entire defense, it is going to be dropping in our school community. So if you have not joined our school page yet, that link is in the description. One of the easiest ways to defend any kind of a trips tight end type of formation is using this play cover 9. And the reason why it's so good is because you have a cover 2 on one side, a cover 4 on the other side, but there is a matching principle within it. And it's really due to this vert hook. You're going to see that against verticals, this is going to just actually cage it. You get great matches from the backside, inside quarter. You get a great match from that vert hook in that soft squat as well. So I love this play to defend, kind of a lot of what people like to do out of trips. Another very popular trip side in type of route combination here would be a flat, an in route. Let me actually just set this up. It would be like a crosser. It would be a flat route. It would be an in route, and then there would be some kind of like streak like this. So why is cover 9 really good for this? Because cover 9 does a really good job of defending that crosser. So you're going to see here that crosser is going to get matched by the quarter, and then you're pretty much good to go in terms of how you're playing defense. So that's another one of my favorite coverages for trips tight end. I still really like just a basic cover 4 quarters. The one thing is if you really don't want to be audibling your defensive play at the line of scrimmage because they will move and it's a little bit of a tell. But as you see, that Texas 4-man is super powerful. It's actually super powerful specifically out of this defense, which is why I highly, highly recommend this defense. I think this defense is by far and away just the top defense in the game. The only other thing I didn't really go over was a five wide. If you ever get five wide, typically what they're doing is they're trying to call four verticals. So what I like to actually do against a five wide type of look is this is where I want to be in a cover three match based defense. In this case, we'll just use this cover three buzz match, and we're going to use that Texas four man. As you see, that slot corner gets over the top of that number two receiver, and he is going to take that away. And you're going to see that really the only thing you need to do is just match the tight end crosser, and you're going to be in a pretty good spot. Now, if they have a drag coming backside underneath of this, one of the best little strategies is to switch stick to that seam flat and take it. But really, for the most part, we're able to play it pretty well. And this also is really good because they can't throw, like, the reason why I love cover three match against this is they can't throw a seam streak on either side of the field, which is why those seam flats are so good. And then really, as you see, of course, we have to take the tight end, but that's the only thing you really have to guard on this play is really that tight end route. So that's one of the main reasons why I love that. And really, you know, one of the best things you can do, I think, against this is you can take this safety here and you can actually put him in an inside quarter. And you're going to notice that against within a cover three match against a trips alignment like this, watch that inside quarter. You'll see that he'll actually match the tight end perfectly across. And then you still have that seam flat matching the number two receiver and that outside third matching the number one receiver. So this is another way that you can kind of craft a little bit of cover four quarters type of coverage shell within a cover three match based defense. Now you might be saying, okay, well, what if they run like a deep post on the left side and they try to isolate that guy? It can potentially, but normally the cover three, that third, it does a good job of matching, as you see right there, matches to it properly, and he's able to take that away. So if you're ever struggling to defend five wide, this is one of the best defenses that you can possibly have against a five wide type of formation. And then the other thing that I like out of this is, let's say somebody wants to come down here and they want to, run the ball. One of the easiest ways to stop the run in this game is this play 1 LB dog and nickel 2-4 single mug. All you're going to do is blitz the linebackers straight down. And what you're going to see, I like to spread my line and crash them down. But typically what you're going to see here is you're going to use her on this guy. And I would highly recommend route committing outside. If you want to shade over top to help prevent bombs, you can do that. But basically, you're just looking to, kind of come down. Hopefully, you don't do that. But you're just looking to essentially fill the gaps as needed. So let's see if we can actually get this thing to be a little bit more proper here. And you'll see there's really nowhere to go. This defense has, by default, a little bit of a unique alignment that makes it, I think, pretty good for stopping, any kind of base run that somebody's going to do. The other thing that I like about this is, let's say that they want to run the ball down the middle. So if they want to run the ball down the middle, you're still in a pretty good position here, and you're not really overcommitting with what you're doing. And the other thing is you are sending 6. So if they are able to run this, you're still going to be in a good spot to get pressure if they send 5 out on a route. So this is one of my favorite ways to just be able to counter the run game out of this formation. Is with this simple play, you don't have to blitz the linebackers. I do recommend spreading the D-line out just because it really kind of forces everything back to the middle. But this is how I like to shoot and stop most of the runs. You do have, within the Patriots playbook, you actually do have the ability to go down to a 4-3 tight or a 4-3 even 6-1 or a 3-4 odd. So you have all of the good run stopping formations if you need to get into them. But by and large, guys, this is an amazing defensive playbook. And in my opinion, the nickel 2-4 single mug is by far and away the best defense in the game right now. And if you want to learn even more about this defense, join our school community today for just $10. It'll get you access to all of my full offensive and defensive ebooks for Madden and for college football.